Hello, Connorsville, and welcome to another episode of Banter. I'm your host, Sergeant LaFavors, local career counselor here for the Whitewater Valley. Joined with us is a special guest, a new recruiter here, joined our team. He is out of Greenfield. I'm going to be doing career counseling out of Greenfield. Sergeant Morris, brought to discuss a little bit more about the engineering corps and then go into a little bit about how the Guards affected his life, stuff like that. So, Sergeant Morris, I appreciate you being here, taking the time to join us. So, just off the bat, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was originally born down in southern Indiana, in Madison. My parents split when I was young, and we moved up north. We bounced around for a little while after that. Then we ended up here, and I went to school at Eastern Hancock, where I met our recruiter, Amy Stone, as a lost 18-year-old with really no direction in his life. She convinced me that the Guard was going to be the right fit for me, and turns out she was right. And I dabbled around with a bunch of different things in the civilian side, and then decided that I loved the uniform and want to find another lost soul like myself and help give him a better life. And so here we are.
Well, so what, I know you've told me the story and you've kind of gone into a little bit of detail about why you picked the engineering corps and why you picked being an engineer in the National Guard, but kind of tell us a little bit about why you went into it, but more importantly, why, what has it given you? What have you gotten out of it? Stuff like that.
Sure. So my stepfather was a big influence in my life, and it turns out he was a surveyor. When I was coming through, I was trying to be, I think it was intelligence. Went to MEPS to try to sign all the paperwork, and it turns out, boom, my slot's booked. Now I got to reel back, try to figure out what I want to do.
Right.
And I just told our recruiter, I was like, hey, I need to pick a job that's got the biggest bonus with the shortest MOS. And turns out, ended up being surveying. I didn't even know it was surveying until I got to school. But I knew once, I stuck with it because I knew it was going to turn into a good civilian career. And that's what I would advise everybody to do when they're getting in the military, is find something that's not only fun, you can learn a lot, and you can translate it to something in the civilian side. And I think that's what a lot of younger kids don't really look at. They look at all the cool jobs and they think, oh, I'm going to be infantry, or I'm going to be, a mortar guy. I'm going to just shoot things, blow things up, and that's cool, all well and good. Do your first contract, and then maybe switch over to something that's going to really help you later on in life.
Yeah, I think the National Guard as a whole has evolved in that way. That's what makes us unique. In my opinion, that's one of the reasons why, as well as you, wanted to become a recruiter, a career counselor for young people, and even for people who may just be lost, maybe in their 20s, maybe 30s, and they're just kind of looking for that footing in life. The National Guard has a unique opportunity and brings a unique opportunity in being able to support you in a civilian career, in a civilian job, expand that portfolio, so to speak. And there's great networking, right? We're the 5th largest National Guard in the country. It goes California, Texas, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and then us. We have over 12,500 troops statewide. So it's a great networking opportunity for us as guardsmen. It makes a unique opportunity for us to meet everybody from across the state that is similar to us, that has similar interests. Obviously, we all joined, so we have that in common, and then we just kind of go from there. So with engineering in general, I know a lot of people probably are wondering, engineer, are you building? Are you doing more of the planning side? Are you doing a little bit more of the kind of pre-stages, the surveying? I know you mentioned that. Is engineering all-encompassing? Are there specific sub-MOSs within the job? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my MOS specifically is really comprised of 3 different MOSs. So originally, back in the day, it was 3 separate MOSs. So I operate as a CAD tech, a land surveyor, and a soil tester. Back in the day, it was separated into those 3, and the Army decided we need to combine all these and really create a specialized MOS. Somebody that can do a little bit of everything. We have more of a practical aptitude to not just the planning and the building side. We also have a practical aptitude to infantry units, line units. A lot of people don't think about that, like surveyors and soil testers. What do they have to do with infantry? But if we're trying to do like a river crossing or something like that, we really add a lot of helpful insight to those people that you really wouldn't think about.
Right.
You know, knowing the soil composition of the other side of the river that you're trying to cross. Is it rocky? Is it sandy? Is it straight up mud? Are we going to sink? Are we going to float? What are we going to do?
Right.
Well, that's where we come into play. I've been involved in a lot of training where people don't know what to do with surveyors, and it's frustrating, or with my MOS, and it's frustrating because we can contribute a lot to a team. But now to answer your question, there's so many subcategories of engineering. There's carpenters, there's electricians, there's a multitude of different opportunities you can get into that, again, translate over to the civilian side.
Right. So pretty much whatever you see in a building, there is a sub-engineer that takes care of that specific plumbing,
Absolutely.
pipe fitting, insulating. So, and I remember a few years back, 2016, 2017-ish, they were talking about the border wall, the border security, and there was at the time an order placed where President Trump at the time had issued the order for the Corps of Engineers under the DoD direction and under the DoD budget, go down and actually physically build some type of border security under the most open areas on our southern border. And so I know those missions can happen, but tell us a little bit about, any missions that you've been on specifically, any deployments, and kind of how is that correlated with your job?
Sure. Operating specifically just as an engineer, I got the opportunity to go down and assist in a project in Hohenfeld, Germany. The infantry a long time ago used to have trench building, or trench fight and trench warfare in their handbook, and they took it out and they decided they're going to put it back in. So Hohenfeld, Germany is a big training installation for infantry men and women, and they wanted to get back into it, and they didn't have any trenches anymore. So they needed a group of surveyors who had equipment, had the know-how, and could plan and help design trenches for them. So I had the opportunity to go down there and stake corners and lay the foundations for the other engineers, which are our dirt movers, our 12 Novembers, I believe, to go down there and build the trenches. The first time they'd had surveyors out there in years. So we were welcome guests.
So when it comes to that, obviously you talk about all this equipment, all this surveying that you have to do to make sure, the soil composition's right. I imagine, and I've seen the engineers operate, they deal with a lot of heavy machinery, a lot of heavy equipment. Are there any specific licensing certifications that you get that carry over into the civilian side from the Corps of Engineers?
Not necessarily out-and-out licensing, because every state has different policies and rules as far as what you need to be licensed. Like as a surveyor, no, you're not going to come out of the survey, out of my MOS with a license to survey, but you definitely come out with the experience, and with our education benefits, you come out far above ahead of anybody that's just walking out on the street.
Right.
I do. As far as soil testing goes, which is I don't really talk about too much because I don't have a ton of experience in it.
Correct.
We do get a lot of specialized training, hands-on with equipment that even a lot of soil testing firms don't have, which was with our nuclear barometers, which will cut your testing time in half essentially for this specific piece of equipment. The reason they don't get it is because it has nuclear components in it.
Right.
So they don't get a lot hands-on with that, but that's something in the military that looks really good on a resume and the civilian side.
Right.
If nothing else, just an eye catcher. They'll be like, "What's a nuclear barometer?" And you have licensing on it. That's pretty cool. So,
Right. Okay. Well, so, going a little bit more back to you specifically and just how the National Guard's changed your life a little bit, go into a little bit more detail of how the National Guard has molded you, and then kind of shift over and tell us more about, what benefits that you're getting and why you've kind of stayed in, what benefits have kept you in.
Sure. So the biggest thing was, like I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. It's my favorite question to ask young high school men and women. I love it when they tell me they have no idea what they want to do. And it's really because the world is your oyster at that age. And if I had known that when I was coming through, I would have been a lot more better off. But no, the engineering has got my foot in the door to give me a very successful civilian career.
Right.
It gave me the confidence to go speak to people, to walk up to contractors on the civilian side and be like, "Hey, this isn't right. We need to fix it, and this is how we can fix it." You know, engineering as it's in a whole is just a wonderful field to get into right now, especially surveying. I know surveyors are hemorrhaging right now because it's an older profession, and a lot of the older people that are in it are retiring. So, if engineering is something you're thinking about, now is the time to get into it. But the Army as a whole has given me, like I said, the confidence to speak and be in front of people and not be afraid to talk to people. I know with COVID, and people being locked down, it really forced that kind of thing out of the curriculum in school, and kids nowadays don't even know how to talk to people.
Right.
But, the military benefits have kept me in. The biggest thing is the insurance. I'm a father, I'm a husband. When my son had dental surgery, we didn't know how we were going to pay for it. We originally got the bill and we're like, wow, that's ridiculous. But TRICARE's got us, man. I think we paid like $30 out of pocket for the whole thing. That's something that keeps me in, and just the love for the uniform. I love what we do. I love that I not only get to serve my country, but I also get to serve my community. When COVID hit, I deployed for stateside for COVID relief missions, and that made a huge difference. To that point, it had been a while since I think Indiana had deployed for any kind of natural relief, at least in my unit.
Right.
But yeah, that really gave me the confidence and the want to stay in the military.
So you talk about the love for the uniform, the love to serve. Go into a little bit more, with you stepping into this new career counseling role. Mm-hmm. You're going to be in front of a lot of high school students. You're going to be in front of a lot of people. This job is unique in that it gives us the opportunity to get out in the public, to talk to everybody, and to give us an opportunity to really just gauge public interest. So, how are you going to kind of get past that? Because now in today's world, the way, I've seen it in just a short time, there's not a lot of interest there in the want to serve, the love to serve. So, what would you tell somebody who doesn't necessarily have that drive to be in uniform and to serve? What would you give them as, a pretty darn good reason to really just take that first leap and join?
I guess, I would say, what's stopping you? What are you worried about? What's your biggest worry?
Right.
The National Guard doesn't deploy. We do deploy, but you don't necessarily have to be in a combat role. There's nothing to be scared of. There's so many other MOSs that I've been in for 8 years now. I've never been on an overseas deployment for something that I didn't want to do. I've had the opportunity to turn down deployments. If being the fear of the unknown is what you're worried about, there's nothing to be worried about.
Right.
You're going to get the training you need. You're going to have the experience that you need, and the Army's going to be there for you when you're ready to get out. So there's not a lot of reason to want to join.
Right.
I understand the fear of the unknown is real, but let's be realistic. Nothing to be worried about.
Well, I think that's all we've got. Last little note here. Mm-hmm. Best advice that you can give to high school seniors coming out of high school. What can you tell them that they may not know? Obviously, we both are pretty close to remembering what we were like when we were coming out of high school. What do you feel is the best thing to tell them that would resonate, that would touch home with them, that they probably should be hearing when they're coming out of high school?
Sure. Explore all of your options. Whether it be the Guard, or active duty, anything, active duty military, go talk to all those people. Go talk to the Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Army, everybody. Go talk to everybody. Do your research. Have a general understanding of what you want to do.
Right.
You don't have to have it narrowed down right now. You have plenty of time. That's fine. But, learn what interests you. Because if you know what interests you, then you can translate that to something in the military that's going to be great for you. Talk to people. Don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to fail. I've failed a million times. I've had a bunch of different jobs that I've never thought I would take, but I did.
Right.
Just try everything.
I think the biggest thing that stuck with me is Sergeant Stone, our recruiter, told me that you can go through plan A, you can go through plan B, heck, go through the whole alphabet. just don't quit. And for me, that is probably the biggest thing that resonated. It's the biggest thing that stuck with me. I had to join under different circumstances. I couldn't just walk in and sign the papers and start right away. I had to put about 4 or 5 months worth of work into it. Started the process in April, didn't end up signing my contract until October. So just because the process seems a little bit long, the end of the road, the accomplishment that you get from joining an organization like ours, it sticks with you for a lifetime. So with that, I appreciate your time, Sergeant Morris. I thank you so much for coming and taking the time to talk with us, and appreciate everybody listening in and viewing us on YouTube. This has been another episode of Bunker Banter. Stay tuned for episode 3. It'll be coming out next month. See you then. Hi, I'm Sergeant LaFavors. Thanks for watching Bunker Banter. Real quick, to introduce myself, I just want to let you guys know if there's any questions you have about the National Guard, any concerns, any interest, you want to explore options. You may seem lost, not sure what the next step in life is. You could be a high school senior, you could be out of high school for a couple years. Regardless of the situation or the circumstances, I want you to feel safe and comfortable to come talk to me anytime. I'm down by the Armory by Roberts Park here in Connorsville. You can always talk to me over the phone, via text, email, and we'll be providing that here at the bottom of the screen. So if there's anything that I can do for you, please feel free to reach out, and thanks for watching.